Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Alfred, and this is Capital City Aquatics. And for those of you just joining, I would ask that you please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like at the end, and hit the notification button so that when we come out with new videos, you'll be the first to know. So today we're going to talk about the importance of having a hospital or a quarantine tank. I have this 20-gallon here set up as a hospital/quarantine tank. And the reason why it's so important that if you have a tank to do this, that you do it, is to keep any illnesses from your fish spreading to your fish that are healthy and in your main setup. Because when we purchase fish from our local fish store, or we get them from a local breeder or one of the big box stores, we always have that risk that the fish could be sick. We try as best as we can to observe the behavior of the fish and look for signs of illness, but we don't necessarily always catch everything. And if we put them in our main tank, our community tank at home right away, we run the risk of getting all of our fish sick and potentially having losses from our fish once the illness spreads. So in order to avoid that, we put our fish in a quarantine tank. Now there are different opinions on quarantine tanks. Some people will treat the fish regardless if they show signs of illness or not, for internal or external parasites or fin rot, ick, anything like that. I myself put fish in a quarantine tank and observe for a few days to see if I notice any signs of illness, whether it's parasites, ick, or dropsy or anything like that. So the first sign that I see that something might not be right, I will go ahead and start my treatment at that point. Both methods can have their positives and negatives. It's just I try as best as I can to observe my fish and treat the symptoms that I've noticed rather than just treating them outright. And then a hospital tank. Now, the purpose of having a hospital tank would be if you notice that one of your fish in your main tank isn't doing well, you're noticing white spots on them with ick, or you're noticing a sunken belly for internal parasites or anything, that you can then safely remove that fish from the rest of your aquarium and treat only the sick fish in your hospital tank. That is a very good thing to do. It helps the other fish stay healthy, and it's easier to treat once you have the fish isolated. Now, typically speaking, with medications, if you read the directions on the back, they're going to ask that you remove the carbon filter if you have one for it, since the carbon filter will filter out the medication, and that's not something we want to do if we're treating a sick fish. Another thing here you'll notice in this tank, I don't have any plants in the tank or live plants in the tank. The reason for that is some medications for fish can be quite hard on plants. One of the treatments that I do like to use is a salt bath treatment. And again, most freshwater live plants don't react well to aquarium salt. So I just keep this tank as bare bones as possible. That way I don't have to remove the plants if I have to put a fish in to treat it with medication. Another thing, when you're treating fish that are showing signs of illness, if you've treated it successfully and the fish is making a recovery, you're going to want to keep them in the hospital tank for an extra week, possibly even 2, to ensure that any signs of the illness has been eradicated and that there's no risk of it showing up again after you've put the fish back in your main tank. And then you run the risk of course, potentially that fish spreading the illness to other fish. And then you're having to treat, instead of just 1, you're having to treat 3 or 4, possibly even more fish in your hospital tank. So it's just always a good practice that when you're treating the fish, to keep it in your hospital tank a few weeks after you no longer see signs of the illness, just to make sure that everything is good and that the fish can gain their strength back, and then you can put the fish back into your main tank. And just one final reminder, everyone, for the upcoming event that is going to be taking place in Mississauga this year, the 16th and 17th of September. We have the Canadian Aquatic Expo. It's going to be at 6900 Airport Road in Mississauga. And on the Saturday, the doors open at 10 until 6. And then on Sunday, September 17th, it's open from 10 to 4. Parking on site is free if it is available. And again, just to touch on some of the main attractions that'll be happening, we're going to have the aquascaping competition. So if you're a fan of aquascaping, you can try your hand at that. And if you're a guppy fan like I am, the Trans-Canada Guppy competition. So they're going to be having a guppy competition. So for guppy enthusiasts from across the province, there's going to be vibrant displays of guppies, and it's going to be definitely something worth looking at. There's going to be a number of guest speakers that you can go and listen to. The guest speakers range on a number of different topics. So we have the mad aquarist Chris Biggs. We have an award-winning aquascaper is also going to be presenting, Jennifer Williams. For those of you that are into shrimp, Teresa Neal is going to be speaking. She's an excellent speaker. And as I mentioned in one of my previous posts, the King of DIY, Joey's going to be on site, and I'm sure he'll have some great stories to tell as well. So if you're in the Mississauga area, it's coming up. Like I said, it's the 16th and 17th of September, so there's not much time left. Highly recommend that you go out and take part in the event on one or both days. It's definitely going to be something worth the time and effort to put in, and I'm sure you'll see lots of fascinating exhibits. I know Aqua Malik is going to be there, so go out, support your local Canadian breeders. He's going to have some amazing fish, as always, I'm sure. This 16th and 17th of September, and it's taking part in the Mississauga area. So if you're there, definitely recommend stopping by.